When we gathered that November night in 2023 to celebrate 10 years of climate justice activism, we didn't know what was to come over the next 10 years. But one thing we did know: another world is possible. The first chapter was dramatic and fast-paced. In the fall of 2024, Portland held a city council election that was historic. We had 4 newly drawn districts, and we were electing 12 new commissioners. We saw this as a once-in-a-generation opportunity to shift political power from the city's wealthiest zip codes toward more diverse and equal representation across the whole city. And we were doing it through ranked choice voting for the very first time. This was a huge win for local democracy, and the results would underpin all of our climate and social justice goals. With this in mind, 350 PDX had 1 year to put its 3-point plan into action. First, we came together with other organizations and communities working for justice to be part of a coalition that could rival the power of lobbyists representing extractive industries. Second, we had a solid policy platform for climate justice. It detailed bold, systemic fixes to protect our communities from inequitable harm. That involved kicking fossil fuels out of Portland, reducing heat islands by growing our urban forests, ensuring housing for all, creating safety through community-led programs, and vastly expanding public transportation. A lot of people wondered how we accomplished all this so fast. That was the third pillar of our plan: people power. 350 PDX supercharged its community-building powers, forming a massive volunteer force across the city. By 2026, we had neighborhood teams in almost 50 of Portland's 92 neighborhoods, many led by people who came to that 10-year celebration. These teams practiced community care, hosting tool lending libraries, skill shares, and community discussions. Each team could also mobilize at least 100 extra people, which meant 5,000 extra supporters could show up at City Hall when we needed them most. That was an exciting chapter in our story, and those early wins and strong relationships were so critical because the next chapter brought crises that could have easily torn us apart. 2027 saw Portland's worst mix of disasters yet. A scorching 3-day heat dome with temperatures hitting 120 degrees left scores of people dead. Then an unintentional spark quickly burned about a quarter of beloved Forest Park. You could see the flames from across town, and the heavy smoke and ash were awful. We held our breath, worrying. What would happen if a spark crossed Highway 30 and ignited the industrial area along the river, which stores and moves millions of gallons of fossil fuels? That made us picture the other unspeakable disaster we awaited: the Cascadia earthquake, which we knew would cause oil spills and explosions at the scale of the BP Deepwater Horizon disaster in the Gulf of Mexico, right here on the Willamette River in the heart of our city. A lot of us were very scared, and some politicians weaponized our fear for short-term personal gain. But we couldn't let that be the last chapter of our story. Thankfully, by the time the Forest Park fire happened, the new Portland commissioners and all of our coalition groups had already put some of that policy platform into action. As a community, we prioritized installing electric heat pumps, insulation, and solar in older, low-income homes. We increased tree cover in East Portland, which decreased temperatures there. We came up with creative ways to make sure everyone had a place to live, like new zoning laws that turned office buildings into affordable apartments and empty lots into multifamily units. All of that increased the demand for safe bike lanes and public transit, and each neighborhood had access to almost everything they needed without a car. We also fully funded our street response teams, providing de-escalation and care, and breaking cycles of violence and systemic racism. And we finally kicked Zenith Energy out of our city. We became a model for so many other cities around the world to see that dirty crude oil can be shut down. It's 2033 now, and the climate story isn't over. We'll keep fighting tooth and nail to rebuild our world based on regeneration, justice, and collective liberation. But the last 10 years have given us the wins we need to get us on our way. And we couldn't have done it without, well, us.